Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the hidden stories in company filings, and today we're diving into Recursion Pharmaceuticals filing, which looks like it has some pretty wild swings. Get ready because we are looking at a company that is trying to reinvent drug discovery with AI. And the numbers tell a very interesting story about that journey. If you are into getting clear insights from these dense reports without the corporate jargon, make sure you subscribe. And hey, we've got a great community on Discord to continue the conversation, link in the description below. Alright, let's get straight into the heart of things, and that means taking a look at the numbers. First up, the balance sheet as of the 30th of September 2025 and the 31st of December 2024. We see cash and cash equivalents at a pretty healthy $659.8 million in September 2025. Up from $594.3 million at the end of 2024. That is good, but not nearly enough to cover their massive accumulated deficit. And speaking of deficits, let's talk about that. As of the 30th of September 2025, the accumulated deficit, which is basically the total losses the company has had since it started, ballooned to a staggering $2.0 billion. That is a huge number and just shows you how much money they're pouring into this business. It was $1.4 billion at the end of 2024. So that is a pretty significant increase in losses. Now, looking at their short-term debts, their total current liabilities were $155.1 million in September 2025, down from $187.4 million at the end of 2024. That is a positive sign, meaning they owe less in the short term. Overall liabilities, however, are still substantial. They stand at $352.5 million in September 2025, down from $413.8 million at the end of 2024. So they're managing their debts, but the deficits are the real story here. Where is all this money coming from? Well, see this big number here, additional paid-in capital. That is $2.98 billion in September 2025. This is essentially the money investors have put into the company above the par value of the stock. It is what allows them to keep operating despite those massive losses. Now, let's move to the income statement, or rather the loss statement for Recursion. For the 3 months ending the 30th of September 2025, they posted a net loss of $162.2 million. That is a big hit, and it is even worse for the 9-month period, where the net loss reached a whopping $536.6 million. Compare that to the same period in 2024 where the 9-month loss was $284.7 million. That is nearly double the losses in just a year. These numbers are not pretty. Their revenue is a different story. Total revenue for the 3 months ending the 30th of September 2025 was just $5.1 million. That is a massive drop from $26 million in the same period last year. And for the 9 months, it went from $54.2 million down to $39.1 million. This steep decline in revenue is a major concern. Digging into that operating revenue, which comes from their actual business activities, took a huge hit. It dropped from $26 million for the 3 months in 2024 to just under $5 million in 2025. This isn't just a stumble, it is a significant downturn. Now, when you look at their operating costs, research and development is the biggest line item, and it is soaring. For the 9 months ending the 30th of September 2025, they spent a mind-boggling $379.3 million on research and development. That is up from $216 million in the same period last year. It is clear they are betting heavily on finding the next big drug. And look at this. Acquired in process research and development, or IPR&D, jumped from nothing in the first 9 months of 2024 to $22.8 million in 2025. This is often the cost of buying early-stage drug candidates. General and administrative expenses, which cover things like management salaries and office costs, also went up from $100.9 million to $142.9 million for the 9 months. A big chunk of that increase is thanks to the Accession acquisition, which we'll touch on. All these rising costs and falling revenues are leading to massive operating losses. For the 9 months ending the 30th of September 2025, their operating loss was $539.7 million compared to $295.2 million in the same period of 2024. That is a 75% increase in their operating losses. Interestingly, they did have a significant increase in other income net in the 3-month period, up to $9.9 million from just $2.6 million. This might be from investments or other financial activities, but it is a small drop in the ocean compared to their operational losses. Let's look at some of the big strategic moves. Recursion acquired full ownership of ReVentures I in July 2025, spending about $20.2 million on a drug candidate for a rare disease. This was accounted for as an asset acquisition, and the cost was immediately expensed as research and development. highlighting how early and risky these ventures are. Then there was the sale of their Austrian operations, Accession GmbH, in March 2025. They got a 49% stake in a new company called Alpha Biotechnology GmbH. This move seems to be about streamlining operations and cutting costs, resulting in a $4.5 million loss on the disposal. The big one though was the acquisition of Accession plc in November 2024. This was a massive deal costing about $630 million. Accession is another AI drug design company, and Recursion believes combining their platforms will make them a leader in the field. This acquisition is a huge factor in the increased expenses and financial statements we're seeing. The purchase price allocation is still being finalized, as is common with big acquisitions, but it is already impacting their financials significantly. Looking at how they fund these massive R&D efforts and acquisitions, it is clear they rely heavily on selling stock. For the 9 months ending the 30th of September 2025, they brought in $395.4 million from common stock sales. That is up from $289.3 million in the same period of 2024. This shows they're actively raising capital from investors to keep the lights on and fund these ambitious projects. They have ongoing at-the-market offerings, notably with Citigroup, where they can sell stock periodically. For the 9 months ending the 30th of September 2025, they sold about 74.6 million shares under this program, bringing in $358.2 million. This is a key mechanism for them to raise cash as needed. Their stock-based compensation continues to be a significant expense. For the 9 months ending the 30th of September 2025, they recorded over $86 million in stock-based compensation. This is how they attract and retain talent in the competitive biotech and tech space, but it adds to their overall costs. Let's touch on their partnerships, which are crucial for revenue and validation. The collaboration with Roche and Genentech is a big one. They received a $30 million milestone payment in September 2024, and then another $30 million payment in October 2025. These payments are related to creating phenomena maps, which are essentially complex biological maps used for drug discovery. These partnerships bring in substantial immediate cash and promise even more down the line. The collaboration with Sanofi is also progressing, with Recursion having achieved significant upfront and milestone payments, totaling over $130 million to date. They are eligible for billions more through milestones and royalties. And the partnership with Merck is also chugging along, with an upfront payment of over $20 million. These collaborations are key to their strategy not just for revenue, but also for validating their AI platform. Now, dealing with legal matters is becoming a bigger part of the story. There was a class action lawsuit filed against Accession plc and some executives related to its business. While the motion to dismiss was granted, the claims were dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could be refiled. As of the 30th of September 2025, no liability had been recorded because an unfavorable outcome wasn't probable. There is also an ongoing lease dispute with a landlord. These legal battles can become costly distractions. And here is a crucial point about their internal controls. The company states that their disclosure controls and procedures were ineffective due to material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting. They are actively working on fixing these, especially related to calculating revenue and integrating the Accession acquisition. This is a red flag for investors, indicating potential issues in how their financial data is managed and reported. So, what is the big picture here? Recursion is a company with a massive vision to revolutionize drug discovery using AI and a huge amount of data. They're spending enormous sums on research and development and acquisitions, which is leading to ballooning losses and a shrinking revenue stream in the short term. Their reliance on stock sales and significant partnership milestones to fund operations is clear. The decline in operating revenue is a significant concern, while the growth in R&D expenses reflects their aggressive investment in their AI platform and pipeline. The acquisition of Accession is a major strategic move, aiming to create a powerhouse, but it also adds complexity and cost. The legal issues and internal control weaknesses are certainly points to watch closely. Ultimately, Recursion is in a very high-risk, high-reward phase. They are betting that their unique AI-driven platform will lead to breakthroughs that traditional biotech has not achieved, and that the massive investments now will pay off handsomely in the future. The key question for investors is whether their platform and pipeline will deliver on this promise quickly enough to sustain their operations and avoid the need for further dilutive financings. Or if the current revenue downturn signals deeper problems. It's a bold strategy, and the market is clearly waiting to see if it pays off. Alright, that is our deep dive into Recursion Pharmaceuticals' latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. And of course, don't forget to check out the Discord community linked in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.